Beto Quintanilla is one of the only modern Narcocorridos to die of natural causes. Natural causes is a loose term. Beto was born June 6, 1949. By perspective, this makes him one of the earliest born members of the genre. Born under the full name of Norberto Quintanilla Iracheta, he came from a large farming family that required everyone to chip in. So much so that Beto left secondary school after a year to work in the fields alongside his 5 brothers and 3 male relatives. Incidentally, his brother Jesus would later follow Beto into music, performing under the name Ooyy Quintanilla. The Quintanilla family struggled to support the 11 members living at the farm, and around 1972, Beto was sent to Reynosa to live with his aunt. Beto found a job at a nearby ranch milking cows and quickly befriended 2 musicians he worked alongside with. Although Beto had no formal music training, during his time in Nuevo Leon he often composed poems and songs dedicated to his mother, his school, and his country. In due time, he began to write songs for the musicians, layering his lyrics over traditional Mexican instruments like the accordion and bajo saxto. Although Beto left the ranch by 14 to work at a clothing store with his aunt, he maintained relationships with the local musicians. Beto's ability at such a young age attracted the attention of Ruben Polanco, the artistic director of Roc Records. Although it is assumed Beto's first recordings were on Roca, the Strachwitz Frontera collection has his earliest recordings identified as Pancho La Soda in 1975, recorded at Past Mex Studios in Dallas, Texas. Beto displayed the ability to craft corridos involving robbery, murder, and valor. Although Beto disliked his singing voice at first, Polanco urged him to embrace his unique style. While releasing the album El Judicial Federal in 1977 at the age of 18, Beto showed classic corrido style, with the songs bordering between reality and fiction. In Beto's song Raul Reyes, he tells the story of a man dying in a shootout on May 23rd. According to this obituary from McAllen, Texas, Raul Reyes died May 7th, 1975, after an oil field accident. On that same album, he tells the story of Cesario Trevino, a drug runner who dies after being set up during a deal gone bad, with a twist revealed that the packages were only sugar to begin with. Trevino was very much a real person who was previously indicted by U.S. officials for possessing 255 pounds of marijuana with intent to distribute. Trevino was later killed in 1975, just outside McAllen, Texas. Another song on the album was named after his brother Ooyy, and described a story from August 1974 in which his brothers Miguel and Ooyy were shot at and nearly killed by a car of trailing Americans. Ooyy would work for 20 years as a judicial police officer before following his brother into music. Beto's songwriting ability would draw the attention of local Norteno legend Ramiro Cavazos of the group Los Tenenos. Cavazos established his own label, Discos ROIN, with a retail location in McAllen, Texas. It would be on RYN that he would release the majority of his original compositions. In typical Corrido fashion, Beto's music was often repackaged and re-released across various compilations and later albums. Beto slowly grew a massive catalog, and by 1994 had recorded over 24 albums. Despite this, it only resulted in marginal local success in the absence of a national record deal or a touring booker. An excerpt from the novel Narcocorridos, A Journey into the Music of Drugs, Guns, and Guerrillas provides a great snapshot of what Quintanilla's notoriety was like at the time. When author Elijah Wall told Mexican authorities in January 1999 that he wanted a 6-month visa to study the modern corrido, they simply replied with, "That means you'll have to talk to Beto Quintanilla." Known as El Mero León del Corrido, or the boss line of Corrido, Beto was a regional legend in Reynosa, with all record stores in the city carrying a dozen or two of Beto's releases. During this period of Beto's career, he was only playing small venues like dances and cockfights. Living so far away from Sinaloa, the Banda region of Mexico, he was forced to use synthesized techno banda, leaving a less than satisfactory result. His recordings were seen as a preferred taste, with that taste being drug runners and their admirers. Beto's content often implicated he was an insider to a degree, something which he never denied or hid from. "I'm an insider to a certain degree. I get inside because I want to find out about it, so I'll know what I'm doing. It's like the journalists who go to bring news of a war. They have to go in, and then at least they can say is how brave they are, right? But the journalist doesn't show his picture, his face. And we have to show ourselves. And maybe that's it." Beto Quintanilla, Narcocorridos, 2002. When the year 2000 hit, Beto had become a force in the regional music world. 2 of his songs released that year would become some of the most commonly covered songs in northern Mexico. His 2004 release, Mi Historia Musical, a collection of previous works, would go on to become his first appearance on the Billboard charts. He followed it up next year with another Billboard hit, celebrating a quarter century as a singer and composer. Beto collaborated with a handful of artists over his career, including a collection of albums released with his brother and lookalike Ooyy Quintanilla. Beto produced a handful of songs in honor of Las Zetas and the Golf Cartel. His affiliations were widely known, with songs penned for Osiel Cardenas himself, then leader of the Golf Cartel. The irony of his limited touring schedule is that he was effectively protected from outside threats during his time as a recording artist. Although rumors swirled of his life being threatened, he denied it himself on the Univision program El Gordo y la Flaca. Quintanilla would release Tragedias Reales de la Vida on Friday, March 16, 2007. Beto would spend the weekend partying in Reynosa and celebrating his recent release. On Sunday, March 18, 2007, the raspy-voiced working-man singer would suffer a heart attack and pass away at the age of 57. It is suspected that Beto's cardiac arrest had been instigated by heavy cocaine use. Beto left behind a wife and 3 children, who he famously fictitiously referred to in his song I Bought Death for My Son. Beto Quintanilla Jr. would release an album in honor of his father shortly after his death in 2007. Beto's death would come just 4 months after the death of Valentin Elizalde. It is said that one of his last performances given was in January 2007 with his brother Ooyy, who, as we will later discuss, met a cruel fate of his own. In classic Corrido fashion, his profile rose even higher in death. His last released album reached number 5 on the Latin Billboard chart and even break through to the Billboard Top 200. Tragedy would continue to follow the Quintanilla family, specifically his brother Ooyy. His brother was arguably more open about recording Narcocorridos and had songs penned for the Golf Cartel, El Hummer, and Las Zetas. The Hidalgo County Sheriff Department reported to find a body outside of a row of citrus groves near Mission, Texas. In what appeared to assuredly be a narco-cultura-style killing, Jesus Ooyy Quintanilla was found dead from fatal gun wounds. His body was discovered by Sheriff Lupe Trevino. Although I cannot immediately prove the connection, it seems likely there is a familial relation with Cesario Trevino, the drug trafficker mentioned by Beto Quintanilla on his 1977 album. Another massive twist was revealed during the 2014 trial of drug trafficker Thomas L. Gallo Gonzalez. In cooperation for a lighter sentence, Gonzalez testified to giving Sheriff Trevino over $1 million worth of illegal campaign donations. At the time of his arrest, he even had a re-elect Trevino sign in front of his mansion. He also revealed that he was a close personal friend of Ooyy Quintanilla. Additionally, he testified to using Ooyy as a middleman to move money between himself and Sheriff Trevino. The decision for Gonzalez to turn on Trevino seemed to imply that the sheriff may have had a hand in the death of his late friend. Ooyy Quintanilla even honored his friend Thomas with a corrido in 2010, fittingly named Tommy Gonzalez. This would also raise suspicion when remembering that Sheriff Trevino was the lead investigator on the Quintanilla murder case, and he quickly concluded that there was no leads or suspects in the matter. Trevino would ultimately be sent to federal prison in 2014 on a 5-year sentence. Another interesting side note of the story is that Thomas El Gallo Gonzalez was thought to be a real-life representation of Gus Frings from Breaking Bad. Thomas owned a large cold storage facility for his business, T&F Produce, and used the business to smuggle and launder drugs across the border, before eventually falling victim to a DEA bust. The story of Beto Quintanilla is often overlooked by most Narcocorrido fans, but his contributions to the genre are undeniable. The raspy-voiced singer from Reynosa was not the most popular or the most braggadocious, but he was undeniably authentic.